Hello, good evening, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Lucy Davis, and I am an intuitive. All of the information that I provide in my content is very much from downloads and personal experience. So please do, as always, if this video resonates with you, please do like and comment. If it doesn't resonate with you, if it doesn't feel quite right, please just drop off and go and have a beautiful day, whatever you get up to from here. Now, before I go on any further, there are some new functions that are appearing in my description. So please do remember to go and check out the description tab once you have finished watching this video. So this video is called What Comes Next. And like I just said to you, this is very much from my perspective. So before we talk about what comes next, I'm going to talk about why is all of this happening? Okay. So the truth of the matter is all of the stuff that has been going on for the last couple of years in and around the world is happening because we have allowed it to happen. Over the years, many of us have given up our connection with what some people would call God, some would call the divine, some would call Allah, etc., etc. So, we've disconnected our connection by increasing fear within us. And you might be sat there thinking, Lucy, why on earth would I have increased, got involved in more fear? And ladies and gents, please don't be disheartened by this. We've all been caught up in this matrix. And actually, it's been in flight since World War II. Okay, so every single day since World War II, we have been distracted by things like, television programs and dramas and bright, shiny objects. Okay, so what we've got to look at here is that, in fact, I've got a really good example for you. Think about it like this. In the year 2000, here in the UK, we had 2 registration plates come in each year. So up until around 2000, and I've plucked that year out of the air. I think it was in and around that time. Basically, up to that point, we had 1 registration of the car each year. And if you missed it, you would be buying a car 6 months old or wherever, but it would be the reg that had been released earlier on in the year. So basically, I think it was in the year 2000, we started registering cars in the March and the September. Now, you might be sat there thinking, Lucy, what is your point? Why would we have 2 registrations each year? Think about it. We used to buy a car in, say, the April, and it would be the brand new number plate. And then that would be it until the next March. And then all of a sudden, we've got 2 new number plates coming out each year. Think about it. Why would anybody do that? Psychological warfare. That's why. It's how we are never up to date with the latest things. We're always chasing. We're in a suppressed state. We're in lack. Like I say, we're never going to have the newest thing. Well, we will do for a few months, but then that's it. It's old again, isn't it? There's something newer. We've basically been taught, we've basically been trained since World War II that we're not good enough. And that's a really sad thing. When we stop and think about it, it's a very sad thing. It's a very, very sad place. All of the creams that the women buy, buy this cream, it's going to help with wrinkles. Buy this cream, it's going to help with the skin pigmentation. We've all been convinced that we're not good enough. We've all been convinced that we have to be a consumer of a lot. You guys know I used to work on the trading floor for investment banks, and I used to have so much stuff. Now I'm like, no, I don't need it. No, I don't need it. I just don't need it. And people say to me, Lucy, it is okay for you to buy yourself new things. And I'm like, but why replace what doesn't need replacing? So think about it. If we've been focusing on fear and lack, we cannot be focused on the divine or God or whatever you would call it. You can't be focused on love and fear at the same time. Think about it. If you released every single bit of fear that you ever had and you got back connected to whatever it is that your faith is, you would be focusing on the knowing that you are going to be okay. And this is where I confuse a lot of people, like my family. They often say to me, like, how are you so happy during these times? Like, how are you so connected? Like, what have you done? And I've essentially gone, I trust that I'm going to be okay. Doesn't matter what we live through. I'm trusting that I am going to be okay. So what we need to do before we can get to that point of acceptance is we've got to actually realize that we've all been had. All of us, bar none. Every single one of us has been had. So the real pandemic is actually that we've been in psychosis, a global psychosis at that. And the people that have been pushing this have been holding us in that psychosis for a very long time through different tactics, through things that they put through the television, through things they weave through the newspapers, through things that they weave through the radio stations. And it's very interesting. Again, when I used to work on the trading floor in London, the last bank I worked for when I was still in corporate was UBS. And I used to hop on the train and go to work, before I moved to UBS. And I used to pick up the Metro paper and I used to read it from cover to cover. And it was all doom and gloom and misery and terrorism and all the rest of it. And when I was in my last bank, UBS, because I had created a business alongside it, what I do today for a living, help people ascend spiritually, I stopped reading the newspapers. And it was amazing how different I felt. It was like I had been released. Now I'm going back to 2015. That's when I last watched TV. That's when, like, literally, that's the time I switched it off. I've never watched TV, like never watched TV programs since then. Never picked up a newspaper, never picked up a magazine. In fact, that's a bit of a fib because I appeared in a spiritual magazine recently and I did pick that up because obviously I was in it. So we have been being pushed into this narrative of doom and gloom and fear for many, many years. And there's a lot of people still on the planet that are still in that narrative. Now it's fear-driven. It's fear-driven. It's driven by TV, radio, all of the things that I've just mentioned. It's actually, been quite heavy with social media as well recently, hasn't it? Now, it was created to hold us in this consumerism. It was there. It's been implemented to hold us in anxiety so that we can't be peaceful. Because if we're peaceful, then nobody can manipulate us. Now, what's quite interesting is my stepdad, apologies, has often said to me that mental health was not such a big deal back in his day. My stepdad is maybe 68 now, okay? And I actually agree with that. When I was younger, it wasn't such a big deal. Don't get me wrong, people were stressed and people were anxious and people had insecurities. And by the way, please don't think that I'm not saying this real, because it is real. But from my perspective, it's something that has been created over the years based on people being made to feel as if they're not good enough and they can't afford the best and they're not good enough and they can't keep up with the Joneses and the ever-changing world that we're living in. When in reality, I feel anxiety and depression is very much about the fact that perhaps school didn't resonate with them. So they didn't want to concentrate. All of this noise around the world just doesn't seem right to people. I had a really beautiful conversation once with my nephew and he said, Auntie Lucy, I just don't feel like I belong here. And that's when I said to him, well, then we've got to create the world where you do belong. We need to give people, the peace We need to help people find the peace, not say, oh, here, take this drug, or, oh, yeah, well, you're not good enough. You're never going to amount to much. You're never going to be able to afford the latest car, especially when they're coming out every 6 months. It's been a whole game of numbing and numbing. And there's tactics. You know, I often think about seminars and stuff that I used to go to. And I always used to sit there and think, wow, all of these people get to a certain point in the seminar and the person would be like, yeah, I've got this program for £10,000, go and sign up at the back. And all these people would run to the back, almost like they were in psychosis. There's tactics that have been used on the planet for us to do these things. And right now we are cleansing it all. We're going through it. We have to go through it. There's no way out. Now, just going back to anxiety and depression, the truth is about these beautiful, sweet souls. They know in their core that something is completely off in the world. It doesn't make sense to them. The whole purpose of psychological warfare is to isolate people and create enough fear to make people vulnerable and believe anything and everything that is placed in front of them. Everyone is easy to manipulate when they're in fear. Everyone. You know, I'm around some extremely highly intelligent people, particularly, you know, the world that I've come from. And a few months ago, I met up with, you know, some of the guys that I used to work with in technology on the trading floor. And they're some of the brightest minds on the planet. And they were in fear completely. They'd been, you know, suckered in by the narrative. People are scared to step outside of what is being spoken. It's a very interesting time that we're living in right now. And this is why what comes next, which I'm going to get to in a minute, it's very important that we really do start to step into that role. So I was actually doing a Facebook Live, I think it was Wednesday, the 15th of December, and an ex-military man spoke up and shared on there that he did not fight and risk his life for us to give up now and give away our freedoms now. It's our job to recognize we were tricked. We were never free in the first place. This is our moment in time to ensure freedom for our loved ones, for our children and their children and their children's children. This is our moment. Our generation, it's our moment. This is our turn to turn this around once and for all. It's our generation's job to unify, to unite. We must rise up, ladies and gents. What comes next? We must rise up, and we must rise up peacefully. We must put boundaries in place and realize that we are far greater together than any of us could possibly be on our own. It's our job to sacrifice ourselves for the children. It's not their job to put themselves on the line for us. It's a complete inversion. Think back through, you know, the communities, the tribes, the elders look after the young. We must remember, ladies and gents, that we're never on our own. We always have God within us that we can tap into, the divine, whatever you want to call it. Fear cannot be present if you choose to carry the you know, Christ consciousness, the higher levels of consciousness. Remember, God created you to be here so that he or she could experience everything through you. It's time for us to remember who we are. It's time for us to hold our heads up high and move forward with ease and grace. So, ladies and gents, what really happens next? What happens next is we come together as smaller communities. We come together and start really building the systems that we need and we hope and we choose for our future and for our future generations. I think it was back in 2016, 2017, where I started speaking about collapsing all of the systems. We are at the tipping point. We are teetering on the edge right now, and we are about to embark on the biggest adventure of our life. The last week or two of December is going to be such a huge shift. Going into 2022, it was always destined to be huge. Ever since I was a little girl, I always spoke about 2222. Why? Because my birthday is 22. And I was always like, the twos are my numbers. And here I was, 222 in 2002, 2222. Like, the numbers are profound. How have I been able to be alive and that be my birthday? We have huge shifts coming. The only way we are going to get through is by separating this division, like stopping this division and saying, no, we're going to unify. We're going to link arms. We're going to come together. Allow people, if people are leading in certain areas, allow them to do so, unless you've got something, and then get up there too. Let's really start moving this, mama. Remember, you will not be living in fear if you are coming from love. They can't coexist. So it's either love or it's fear, and choose wisely with that. Choose wisely when you're using angry words. Choose wisely. I'm investing all of my time right now, as you guys have probably noticed, in creating new content. I'm doing Instagram and Facebook Lives all the time. I'm doing as many videos as I possibly can to bring it in to help you recognize ego, recognize laziness, recognize everything else that's going on in your life. Bringing it up into your consciousness. Come on, what you do with it is completely up to you. But that's my job here right now. I'm here to help you guys recognize and step up and step forwards, because we're an army. We are a very, very, very strong army, and there is so many more of us than them. Figure out who you are. Figure out what fires up your soul, and then trust me, you won't be going, oh gosh, I've got to go to work. You're going to be like, yes, I'm connected to my passion. I'm really looking forward to getting involved in it. Ladies and gents, I can't say it enough. We have got this. We have got this. Yes, we've got some interesting times coming up over the coming days and weeks and months. Like, yes, of course we have, but we have got this. We can literally take our life back. We've been so convinced that we've had freedom, and we've never had freedom, ever. It's our time now. Doesn't matter what's happened, we can fix it. It's our time. So what happens next? Spoiler alert. The light wins. God wins. Ladies and gents, we are so close. I can't say to you, my soul knows how close we are, because I see certain things and I just burst into tears, because she just knows we are almost home. So rest up, recuperate, get out into nature, spend time with your loved ones, get your energy restored, because soon enough, babes, it's going to be go time. Okay? Guys, I love you to the moon and stars. I'm going to link back to my full moon video here. Do comment below. Let me know how this video lands with you. And I'm thinking I might do a live Q&A session soon. How do you guys feel about that? Let me know in the comments below. As always, guys, please do remember to like this video, share, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you are new to watching my content. I love you loads, and I will be seeing you in the next video. Lots of love.